Our rent control's the answer. More social housing change, the end of no fault eviction. I'm your host Matthew Moody, and today we are going back in time to 1917. Oh, sorry, I meant 2017. Hello and a warm welcome back to Property TV. Do check out our page, it is rather splendid, and if you've not subscribed already, please click on the link below so you can get the latest notifications of Property TV and our other rather splendid videos we make every week for your viewing pleasure. So a few weeks back we discussed the parliamentary review with our favourite Prime Minister, Theresa May. Now, if you're in government, you're allowed to produce white papers. Now, they're normally very special, not generally very interesting. But this week, we're going back over to the dark side. In fact, we're going to see what's going on with our arch nemesis, the man who forgot the Cold War has ended, Jeremy Corbyn. He doesn't create white papers. No, he creates red papers, which we're going to discuss what's going on with Labour right now. Prop department sucks, I tell you. Long story short, meet Jeremy. He's a vegan. He also cannot sing the national anthem, but he is leader of the Labour Party. There's someone in the background really annoying me, I'm going to have to hit him. After the disastrous 2015 election in which Ed Miliband lost the leadership, the Labour Party, his seat and his general sense of self-respect, Jeremy stepped up to the plate when no one else wanted the poison chalice. And in 2017, Jeremy became the darling of the millennials. They all love him for some reason because, I quote, he has a down-to-earth image. Hey Jeremy. They also feel very betrayed by the Tories and the Brexit policy, and isn't it rather lovely that he rides his bike to work? And also that he wants to nationalise the railways, which isn't actually a bad thing because let's face it, most railway companies are utterly useless. That's enough about Jeremy. So, sounds fun, doesn't it? So let's see what other policy he has. Why are you laughing? You've got to stop this shit. I'm going to have to ban you from the studio. You see, the thing about Sebastian, our senior content producer, is he laughs too much. When he's out of the room, we get so much more done. Oh, it's already gone. Oh, excellent. Anyhow, so sounds fun, doesn't it? So let's talk about some of the hilarious policies he has for the private housing sector. Let's kick off with rent control. Please, someone give me a drink. So, rent control is inspired by countries such as France, Germany and Spain, where let's face it, the majority of the population actually rent. They don't own their properties. Home ownership was something brought in after the war in the UK to make people feel very special and warm about themselves. Before then, most people rented anyhow, but anyhow, rent control is something that Germany's very keen on. And there's mention of, in Germany, the city of Berlin banned landlords from increasing rent with more than 10% above the average rent. Thing is, rent is all to do with supply and demand. There's more supply, rent's less. There's more demand, the rent is higher. But it's very difficult for a landlord to just say, well, actually, the market rent is £500, but I'm going to charge £650 just because he feels like it. He's not going to rent out the property. Is rent control going to work? Not really sure, Jeremy. Interesting thought, though. Also, he wants to introduce a thing called the garden tax, which is essentially going to increase tax on properties with gardens, which is nice for most of the lower and middle class throughout the country who have gardens. And according to the Telegraph, this would mean the average tax bill goes up from £1,185 to £3,837 per year. All it's going to do is encourage people to move to apartment blocks. And seeing as we don't have enough apartment blocks anyhow, maybe we should buy more, build more, who knows. But I refer to this book by my good friend Fred Harrison, Boom Bust, the Great Depression of 2010. And in it he talks about land tax and the fact that land actually has no intrinsic value until it's built on. So why doesn't Jeremy think about taxing land? All right, that's right, I forgot. It's because the government own most of the land. Well done. So another thing he talks about is there's going to be no social cleaning. Now, what does he mean by this? He's saying central London often has these big regeneration schemes and people are forced out of their homes and they then regenerate them, but they're not allowed to move them back in. And he promised that people that lived in those areas that are being eyed up for redevelopment, naughty people wanting to regenerate an area, don't you think? That they can actually live there afterwards. So they can move out of their horrible homes. Developers can come in, spend millions on doing them up, and then they can just move back in. We don't know how this is going to happen. Only his Lord and Saviour Karl Marx knows. We'll leave it to him. We've also need to talk about no fault evictions, because this is his latest crazy theory. So, Jeremy is all about basically allowing tenants to live in properties for as long as they want, paying no rent, not being able to evict them. No fault evictions, he believes, will enhance the security of tenancies and decrease the number of homelessness on the street. He is effectively saying that if you're a landlord, then you can't evict a tenant if they haven't done anything wrong. Well, here's my challenge to you, Jeremy, and I do hope you're listening to this because we will send it to you on Twitter, don't you worry. What about all the people that owe rent to landlords that aren't paying that? What about those hundreds of thousands of tenants that owe rent, unpaid rent, that just spend it on fags and booze? What about them? Are they allowed to stay in the property for as long as possible while the landlord continues paying the mortgage to the bank? Because guess what? If he doesn't, the bank will repossess the house. What's going to happen to those people? This whole thing around getting rid of basically Section 21, which is a prescribed form where you can effectively get a tenant to move out by giving them 2 months' notice, is utter nonsense, I have to say. But that's just my opinion. Well, if you can't create divisions and controversy, what's the point? Since losing the election last year, we haven't really heard much from him, apart from the fact that he did get a free ticket to Glastonbury and accidentally ended up on stage. But he has been back in the spotlight again recently, talking about building 8,000 homes for homeless people. But he's also talked about seizing vacant properties from the wealthy. As one of his idols would say, the properties of the bourgeois. And he did say,
only by abolishing private property and land building cheap and hygienic dwellings can the housing problem be solved.
What? Oh, sorry, my crew's just telling me I've just read a Lenin quote. Do apologise about that, but... Oh, hold on. Got a phone call coming in. Jeremy? No, I can't make tea cakes this Thursday. I've got a meeting with Teresa. Yeah, I'll pass on my compliments. Yeah, thank you. No, it's fine, don't worry. I'll send you the video too. Yet again, my senior content producer is pissing himself in the corner. What is wrong with him? I don't know. No, I've got it. No, Jeremy, I've got to go. Yeah, I'm in the middle of something. Look, goodbye. Right. There's meant to be a gag here. I don't know what the gag is. No one told me. One of the things I do like about Jeremy is he does have a lot of ideas. Now, a lot of them I find are kind of crazy. But that's good, we need more ideas. We do need change in the housing market. We do need someone to basically stop this whole kind of broken bubble of what's going on. But I think some of Jeremy's policies are perhaps going to actually go against the housing market and effectively make it even worse than it is. So there are some things in there to take out of his proposals, but I think we've got to temper them with the fact that the housing market has been broken by the government. They broke it. They created it. They broke it. They created it. They broke it. They created it. They broke it. It's the government that did all of this. There's 650,000 empty homes in the UK, of which we estimate at least half of those are owned by councils. Why not bring them back into circulation? They're starting to build on greenbelt land because, frankly, we have tons of greenbelt land and a couple of properties here and there isn't going to make much difference to people. Let's get on with it. Actually having planning work in the 21st century rather than the 19th would be nice. We are not at Hogwarts anymore, right? And other things that we've talked about in previous programs. So let's watch this space carefully. Let's see what other things they come up with, and also let's see what the other political parties are going to come up with in terms of new housing proposals, because let's face it, we need some change now. So thank you for watching today. Please do subscribe to our rather splendid channel for the latest news, tips, tricks and strategies. And please try not to run over Jeremy if you see him out there on his bike. And finally, let's finish off with a favourite quote of the day. I'm suffering from deja vu. because I think I've heard this bullshit before. Goodbye.